exposing my wife's affair with my best friend in front of everyone. I always thought my life was like one of those picture-perfect Instagram posts, flawless, radiant, and enviable. But it turns out, behind the scenes, my reality was more like a dark comedy. My name is Ryan Mitchell, a 34-year-old marketing manager at a tech firm, and I've spent the last decade building a life with my wife, Sarah. At 32, she's a talented graphic designer whose vibrant personality drew me in from day one. We have a cozy little house in the suburbs, and our golden retriever, Max, is a constant reminder of the happiness we once shared. But everything changed on that fateful Tuesday evening. After a long day at work, I came home to an unusual silence. Sarah was always bustling around the kitchen or lounging on the couch, engrossed in her latest design project. Instead, there was just the faint sound of my favorite band playing from the living room and a lingering scent of burnt toast. Something felt off, but I brushed it aside, thinking she had a busy day. I called out to her, "Hey, babe, I'm home. Did you burn the toast again?" No response. Panic tinged my voice as I ventured further into the house, only to find her phone lying on the kitchen counter, screen lit up with an unread message. I hesitated, my heart racing. Privacy is paramount in a marriage, but curiosity gnawed at me. I picked it up, and the world as I knew it came crashing down. "Can't wait to see you tonight. Just like old times." That simple message sent chills down my spine. I knew that number well. Mark Johnson, my childhood best friend, now a 35-year-old software engineer, and someone who had always been a trusted part of our lives. I could barely breathe as I replayed moments in my mind, Mark's laughter ringing through our living room, the countless times we celebrated birthdays and holidays together, and the shared memories that now felt tainted. I confronted Sarah, and her reaction was as predictable as a soap opera. "It's not what it looks like," she shrieked, her eyes wide with panic. But the shaky cadence of her voice told a different story. She tried to paint it as a harmless friendship, a mild flirtation. My heart sank further as she continued, "You've been so busy with work, Ryan. You wouldn't understand." My anger boiled over. "Understand what? That you're betraying me with the one person I trusted most." I stormed out of the house, my mind reeling. I needed space to breathe, to process this new, hideous reality. After a few hours of pacing aimlessly around the park, I returned home, determined to face this head-on. But instead of the explosive confrontation I had envisioned, I found Sarah in tears, clutching Mark's phone in her hands, frantically scrolling through messages as if trying to erase her betrayal. That moment, so raw and real, was like a punch to the gut. At that moment, I made a choice not to confront them directly, but to strategize. I knew I had to take control of this situation, but I needed allies. That's when I remembered Lisa Johnson, Mark's wife. I had always found her to be sharp-witted and grounded, a stark contrast to the chaos of my marriage. At 33, she was a successful attorney who could certainly handle the truth better than Sarah or Mark could. So, instead of confronting my wife and her lover directly, I decided to befriend Lisa and enlist her help. The plan took shape in my mind like a well-orchestrated scheme. I'd find out more about Mark's affair and help Lisa uncover the truth behind her husband's lies. This felt like a revenge fantasy, but the thrill of it all fueled my determination. As I sat at the bar that weekend, waiting for Lisa to arrive, I imagined the looks on Sarah's and Mark's faces when they realized we were working together. I pictured the moment of exposure, the gasps of disbelief. They thought they had us fooled, but they were about to be in for the shock of their lives. Just as I was lost in my thoughts, Lisa walked in, tall, confident, and with an aura that commanded attention. Her brown hair cascaded over her shoulders, and her sharp eyes scanned the room, finally locking onto mine. We exchanged pleasantries, and as we talked about everything from the weather to the latest courtroom dramas, I felt the weight of the secret we were both harboring. "Ryan," she said, leaning in with a conspiratorial grin, "I've been meaning to ask you something. You know Mark and I have been having some issues lately, right?" A chill ran down my spine. I was about to unravel her husband's secrets, but I needed to tread carefully. "Yeah, I've noticed," I replied, holding my breath. "What's going on?" Lisa hesitated, her brows furrowing. "I just feel like he's been distant lately. I caught him texting someone late at night. He always says he's working late, but I don't know. Something feels off." My heart raced as the pieces of the puzzle began to fit together. Mark was playing both sides, and now I had the perfect opportunity to expose him. "Maybe we should look into it together," I suggested, my voice steady. I could see the wheels turning in her mind, and I knew I had her on board. Little did they know, the walls were closing in around them, and we were going to unveil their deceit in a way they never expected. As the evening drew to a close, I felt an exhilarating rush. This was more than just revenge, it was a chance to reclaim my dignity and make them face the consequences of their actions. But first, I needed to uncover more lies, more betrayals, until the perfect moment arrived. I was determined to expose the affair in front of family and friends, catching both Sarah and Mark off guard at an upcoming gathering. The betrayal was a cancer, and I was ready to cut it out. Little did I know that this was just the beginning, and the twists that lay ahead would test not just my resolve but the very fabric of our lives. The following days felt like a whirlwind of deception and strategizing. I was caught in a relentless game of chess, where every move counted. As I met with Lisa more frequently, we became a well-oiled machine, exchanging details about our spouses, carefully laying the groundwork for our revenge. Each meeting ignited a spark of excitement in me, as we planned the ultimate betrayal that would leave Sarah and Mark reeling. But just when I thought I had the upper hand, the ground shifted beneath me. It was a rainy Thursday afternoon when Lisa called, her voice tinged with urgency. "Ryan, we need to meet. There's something I discovered about Mark, and it's bigger than I expected." I met her at our usual coffee shop, the one with dim lighting and a cozy ambience. As she entered, her expression was grave, eyes darting as if she feared being watched. The air around us crackled with tension. "What's going on?" I asked, my heart racing. "I've been going through Mark's things while he's at work. I know it sounds sneaky, but I needed to find something concrete." She hesitated, biting her lip. "I found a series of emails between him and another woman, someone named Jessica. They've been planning a getaway, a romantic weekend in the mountains. They even have reservations." My stomach dropped. I had never heard of a Jessica, and it hit me hard. This wasn't just a flirtation with my wife, this was a full-blown affair that Mark had managed to keep hidden from both of us. "How long has this been going on?" I asked, struggling to keep my voice steady. "Months," Lisa replied, her brow furrowed with frustration. "It seems he's been living a double life. He spends weekends with her while telling me he's working late or visiting clients. It's all a lie." I felt a surge of anger coursing through me, the kind that makes you see red. Not only had Mark betrayed me, but he had also betrayed Lisa, someone I had grown to respect and sympathize with. The stakes had risen, and now it was personal. As the revelation settled in, an outrageous idea sparked in my mind. What if we used this to our advantage? What if we invited Jessica to the family event? I proposed, my voice dripping with newfound excitement. We could expose the affair right in front of everyone. It would be the ultimate shock. Lisa's eyes widened with a mix of horror and intrigue. "Are you serious? That would be insane. What if she doesn't want to be involved? She might just back out." I leaned closer, lowering my voice. "But think about it, Lisa. She's just another pawn in Mark's game. If we expose him in front of everyone, she'll see him for who he really is, a coward who uses others to get what he wants. We can get her on our side. She has to know what he's doing." Lisa considered it, and I could see the wheels turning in her mind. "You know, you're right. If she finds out he's lying to her, she might just join us. This could be the perfect way to shatter Mark's facade and take him down for good." As we fleshed out the details, I felt a rush of adrenaline. This was it, the turning point I had been waiting for. We decided to approach Jessica discreetly, hoping she would be receptive to the idea of confronting Mark together. That weekend, as we prepared for the family gathering, I couldn't shake the sense of dread that accompanied my excitement. I had to stay composed, not let Sarah or Mark catch on to what we were planning. But every time I saw Sarah smile or laugh, it felt like a dagger to my heart. "Hey, Ryan," Sarah called out one evening while I pretended to scroll through my phone, feigning disinterest. "Are you excited for the family get-together? I can't wait to see everyone." I forced a smile, my insides churning. "Yeah, it should be fun," I replied, the words tasting bitter on my tongue. "I'm sure everyone will be thrilled to see you and Mark together." The way she beamed at the mention of Mark made my blood boil. The thought of her being so blissfully unaware of what was about to unfold made me want to scream. I had to maintain my poker face, but each passing day felt like an eternity. Finally, the day of the family event arrived. As we entered the venue, the atmosphere was vibrant, filled with laughter and chatter. Friends and family mingled, and I forced myself to engage in conversations, even as my heart raced in anticipation of what was about to go down. Lisa had assured me she would reach out to Jessica, and I hoped she would show up. I kept scanning the crowd, looking for signs of the woman who could either make or break our plan. Then, just as I was beginning to doubt, I spotted her, Jessica, a stunning brunette in her late 20s, wearing a red dress that hugged her curves perfectly. "Ryan," Lisa whispered, appearing beside me. "She's here." I nodded, a mix of excitement and fear coursing through me. Let's go talk to her, I said, making my way through the crowd, my heart pounding with each step. As we approached Jessica, I could see her laugh and chat with other guests. The moment she noticed us, her smile faded slightly, and I felt the weight of the world pressing down on me. Jessica, Lisa said, her voice steady but friendly. Can we talk to you for a moment? Sure, she replied, curiosity and concern flashing across her face. We led her to a quieter corner of the room, away from prying eyes. Listen, I began, my heart racing. We need to talk about Mark. Her expression shifted from confusion to concern. What about him? Mark is having an affair, I blurted out, the words spilling from my mouth like a dam bursting. With my wife, Sarah. The color drained from her face as she processed the shocking revelation. What? Are you serious? Yes. We're planning to expose him today, I continued, my voice firm. We thought you might want to join us. Jessica looked back and forth between Lisa and me, her shock slowly turning to anger. He's been lying to me. I knew something was off, but I didn't want to believe it. I'm in. With that, the stage was set. We were three warriors united against a common foe, ready to unleash chaos upon the unsuspecting cheaters. As we moved back toward the main area, a wild sense of excitement coursed through me. I had set the trap, and it was about to spring. I could already envision the chaos that would unfold, the stunned expressions on Sarah and Mark's faces when their secrets were laid bare. The atmosphere at the family gathering buzzed with laughter and light chatter, but within the chaos, a storm was brewing. I glanced over at Sarah and Mark, who were huddled together, oblivious to the ticking clock of their impending doom. I felt a mix of exhilaration and dread as I focused on our next steps. Our plan needed to be meticulous, every detail mattered. With Jessica now on board, Lisa and I gathered her for a private huddle away from the festivities. We found a quiet corner, where the chatter faded to a murmur, and the laughter seemed distant. The three of us formed a tight circle, our faces illuminated by the soft glow of string lights hanging above. Okay, let's go over the plan one more time, I said, my voice steady and confident. We need to create the perfect setup for the big reveal. Jessica, you know Mark better than anyone, so you'll be key in orchestrating the moment. Jessica nodded, her expression a mix of determination and anticipation. I'm ready, just tell me what you need me to do. I took a deep breath, outlining our strategy. Lisa and I will keep Sarah occupied for a while. You need to lead Mark over to the central area where everyone can see him. That's where we'll do the reveal. The goal is to catch their attention without them suspecting a thing until it's too late. Right, Lisa chimed in, excitement sparking in her eyes. When you have him there, I'll get everyone's attention. We'll create a distraction, maybe a toast to the couple or a fun game. And then, we hit them with the truth. I nodded, picturing it all in my mind. Perfect. But, Jessica, it's crucial that you act natural. Play the doting girlfriend until the right moment. We need Mark to be completely relaxed so that he doesn't see it coming. Got it, she replied, her tone steady. I'll make sure he doesn't suspect anything. I couldn't help but admire her resolve. In just a few hours, she would play a significant role in unveiling the truth. Together, we could bring down the fakeids that had caused us both so much pain. As we finalized our plan, the three of us shared nervous laughter, the thrill of impending revenge lighting a fire within me. With each passing minute, the anticipation grew, creating an electric energy that charged the air. But I also had to be careful. My heart raced as I wondered whether Sarah would catch on to my distraction. The last thing I needed was for her to realize something was off before the plan came to fruition. Hey, I said, glancing at Lisa, can you keep Sarah engaged while I check in with Mark? Absolutely. Leave it to me, she replied, a sly smile spreading across her face. I'll make sure she's distracted with talk about the wedding plans and how everything is coming together. She'll never see it coming. Great, I'll go talk to Mark, then, I said, steeling myself for the confrontation. As I walked away, I couldn't help but feel a sense of power. I was taking control of my life, taking charge of the narrative that had been dictated by their deceit. As I approached Mark, he stood by the buffet table, laughing and joking with a couple of family members. His charming smile twisted a knot in my stomach, but I maintained my composure. Hey, buddy, I called, feigning enthusiasm. Glad to see you, Ryan. Good to see you, Mark replied, clapping me on the back. Can you believe how many people showed up? This is one hell of a party. Yeah, it's great, I said, forcing a smile. Hey, you want to grab a drink? I think we could use a toast to celebrate the family. Sure, let's do it, he said, laughing as he followed me to the bar. As we filled our glasses, I had to suppress the urge to laugh at how oblivious he was. Little did he know, his whole world was about to collapse around him. I could almost taste the sweet satisfaction of revenge on my tongue. We clinked our glasses and took a sip, and for a moment, everything felt normal. But the facade wouldn't last long. I kept the conversation light, casually asking about work and how things were going between him and Sarah. He beamed with pride, completely unaware of the web of lies he was entangled in. Things are amazing, man. Sarah is fantastic. We have some big plans coming up, he said, his eyes gleaming. Really? What kind of plans? I asked, doing my best to sound interested. Oh, just some travel plans. You know, trying to make the most of our time together, he replied, a hint of smugness in his tone. I wanted to roll my eyes. Travel plans? More like cheating plans. But I kept my expression neutral, simply nodding as I processed everything he said. Meanwhile, I noticed Lisa from the corner of my eye. She was chatting animatedly with Sarah, her eyes darting between me and Mark, clearly keeping an eye on the unfolding drama. I took a mental note to keep track of our timeline. We needed to time everything perfectly. After what felt like an eternity, Lisa finally waved me over. Ryan, can you come help us with something? She called, her tone cheerful. Sure, I said, turning back to Mark. Let's go see what they need. As we approached, Lisa raised her glass, signaling to the crowd. Everyone, can I have your attention for a moment? The room quieted, and I felt a rush of adrenaline course through my veins. This was it, the moment we had been preparing for was finally here. I could hardly breathe as I took my place beside Lisa, Jessica lingering just behind us. We want to make a toast to two very special people, Lisa began, her voice steady and bright. Mark and Sarah, you guys have brought so much joy to our lives, and we wanted to take a moment to celebrate your relationship. As the crowd cheered and clinked their glasses, I exchanged a glance with Jessica, who nodded, her determination unwavering. I felt like I was standing on the edge of a cliff, ready to dive into the chaos that awaited us. Just then, Mark turned to me, a glint of curiosity in his eyes. What's going on? You look a bit too serious for a toast. I smiled, but it didn't reach my eyes. Oh, just thinking about how great it is to have friends like you, Mark. Especially ones that don't hide secrets. The laughter in the room faltered for a split second as the weight of my words hung in the air. I savored that moment, knowing that I had already started to sow the seeds of doubt. Lisa continued, and now, let's make it even more interesting. Ryan and I have a little surprise for you both. Jessica has some information that will certainly add to this celebration. I felt the anticipation build, the room electrified with curiosity. Oh, what could that be? Mark asked, his bravado faltering as he looked at Jessica, who had stepped forward, her expression serious. With the stage set, I knew it was time to unleash the truth upon the unsuspecting couple. The air was thick with tension, as though the entire room held its breath in anticipation. Lisa stepped back, leaving the spotlight on Jessica, whose presence commanded attention. I could feel the pulse of excitement coursing through me. This was it, the moment of reckoning for Mark and Sarah. Thank you, everyone, for being here to celebrate, Jessica began, her voice steady but charged with emotion. Today is not just about the happy couple, it's also about truth and transparency in our relationships. Her gaze locked onto Mark, and I could see his brow furrow as he registered her tone. I stood at the edge of the gathering, heart racing, watching as the pieces fell into place. Jessica continued, I know that Mark and Sarah are deeply in love, but sometimes, love can blind us to the reality around us. And that's why I'm here, to shed light on a truth that's been hidden from both of you. Gasps rippled through the crowd, and I couldn't help but smile to myself. It was working. I caught a glimpse of Sarah, her face shifting from excitement to confusion. Mark, however, looked as if he had just swallowed a brick. Jessica, what are you talking about? Mark asked, his voice rising slightly. What's going on? Oh, Mark, don't act like you don't know, Jessica said, her expression a mix of anger and heartbreak. You've been playing with people's hearts while pretending to be loyal. I'm here to expose your secret. Secret? Sarah echoed, her brow furrowing as she turned to Mark. What secret? Jessica turned her attention back to Sarah, her voice filled with purpose. Your husband is having an affair with my best friend, Ryan's wife. She paused, letting the revelation hang in the air. And I have proof. I couldn't help but relish the moment. This was the culmination of our careful planning, the revenge that would finally reveal the truth to the world. Wait, what? Sarah said, her eyes darting between us. That's insane. You're lying. Am I? Jessica challenged, stepping closer. I have pictures, texts, everything. You think you know the person you're married to, but sometimes the person you think you know best is the one betraying you. The crowd was wrapped with attention, whispers of shock and disbelief echoing around the room. I felt a surge of exhilaration as the truth unraveled before us. I exchanged glances with Lisa, who wore a triumphant smile, sharing in the satisfaction of watching the plan unfold. Sarah, I didn't want you to find out this way, I chimed in, feigning concern while my heart raced with excitement. But you deserve to know who you're truly married to. Mark is not the man you think he is. Mark's face blanched as he realized the walls were closing in. This is ridiculous. You're both just jealous, he spat, but the fear in his eyes betrayed his bravado. You can't prove anything. Jessica took a step closer, her tone unwavering. Oh, but I can. I recorded you two together, and I have witnesses who can back me up. The room fell silent as everyone turned to look at Mark, who seemed to shrink under their scrutiny. I felt a mix of satisfaction and rage. How could he be so brazen about his infidelity? Ryan, is this true? Sarah asked, her voice trembling as she sought reassurance from me. I hesitated for just a moment, then nodded, allowing the gravity of the situation to sink in. I didn't want to believe it either, Sarah, but I caught them in the act, and it's time you knew the truth. Caught them in the act, she echoed, her voice barely above a whisper. How could you not tell me? You were my friend. I didn't know how to break it to you, I replied, putting on my best sympathetic expression. But seeing the two of you here, I had to do something. You deserve better than this. The tears filled her eyes as the truth hit her like a punch. Mark, is this true? She asked, her voice cracking. Mark shifted uncomfortably, glancing between Sarah and Jessica. No, this is insane, he exclaimed, but I could see the cracks forming in his armor. He was losing control, and it was glorious. Just admit it, Jessica shouted, her voice rising above the murmurs in the room. You've been cheating on her 4 months, and it's time to own up to your lies. The crowd began to murmur again, voices rising as they exchanged incredulous looks. Sarah stood frozen, her mouth agape as she processed the betrayal unraveling before her. I loved you, she shouted, her voice cracking with pain. How could you do this to me, Mark? How could you betray me like this? Mark's facade crumbled further. It wasn't supposed to be like this. I thought I could manage it. Manage what? Jessica retorted, stepping closer. Your double life, the lies, the deceit, it ends now. At that moment, everything seemed to freeze, and for a split second, it felt like the world was watching. Mark looked cornered, panic etched across his face as the reality of the situation sunk in. I could almost taste the irony. The man who had been my best friend was now a broken figure, stripped of his deceitful bravado. Let's put an end to this charade, shall we? I said, my voice steady and clear. Mark, you need to take responsibility for your actions. It's time for you to face the music. With that, I stepped back, allowing Jessica to take center stage. Everyone, I want you to see who the real Mark is, the man who betrays his wife and family without a second thought. The audience erupted into a chorus of shocked whispers, and the tension in the room reached a fever pitch. Mark was visibly shaking now, his confidence evaporating. I can't believe you would do this to me, Sarah yelled, tears streaming down her cheeks as she stepped closer to Mark, her voice shaking. You destroyed everything we built together. Sarah, I'm sorry, Mark pleaded, his voice wavering. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. It just happened. Jessica's eyes flashed with anger. You didn't just hurt Sarah, you hurt me too, and everyone who thought you were a good man. You've made a mockery of our friendships. And with that, as the crowd murmured and gasped, Jessica pulled out her phone and played a recording of Mark and my wife's conversations, including intimate moments and plans for their secret meetings. The room exploded in disbelief as the truth became undeniable. Mark stood there, completely exposed, while Sarah's face paled, her heart shattering in real time. Mark, I thought we had a future, Sarah whimpered, looking more lost than ever. In that moment, I felt a mixture of triumph and sympathy. Revenge had never felt so bittersweet. The echoes of Jessica's damning revelations hung in the air like a heavy fog, suffocating any remnants of hope or redemption. As Mark stood frozen in disbelief, the room swirled with confusion, anger, and heartbreak. I could see the ripple effect of betrayal spread through the faces of our family and friends. Sarah, her eyes still wide with shock, stepped back as if physically recoiling from Mark. I don't even know who you are anymore, she whispered, her voice trembling. All those years, I thought I knew you. Her tears flowed freely now, cascading down her cheeks, and I felt a pang of empathy for her. She deserved so much better than this cruel reality. Mark's bravado had evaporated, replaced by a mask of panic. Sarah, please, listen to me. This isn't what it seems, he pleaded, desperation seeping into his voice. But it was too late for apologies. The damning evidence was all around us. Not what it seems? Jessica shot back, her tone dripping with incredulity. You've been lying to her, to all of us, while playing the devoted husband. The truth is staring you right in the face. The crowd began to disperse, some unable to stomach the unfolding drama, while others were drawn to the spectacle. I watched as friends I once considered family whispered to one another, glancing at Mark, whose facade was shattered. The man who had once been my closest companion was now an outcast, stripped bare of pretense. Everyone deserves to know the truth, I said, stepping forward. My voice carried the weight of my own anger and disappointment. We all trusted you, Mark. You betrayed that trust, not just with Sarah but with everyone in this room. Mark's shoulders sagged as he looked at the faces of those who had once admired him. I felt a grim satisfaction wash over me as I realized the extent of his downfall. He had orchestrated his own destruction, and I was merely a witness to his unraveling. Ryan, please, don't do this, he pleaded, turning to me, his voice laced with a mixture of fear and fury. You were my friend. You don't have to do this. You lost the right to call me that the moment you decided to betray your wife and my trust, I replied, my tone firm. This is not just about you anymore, Mark. It's about the people you've hurt. As I spoke, I could see Sarah's pain manifesting in real time. Her shoulders trembled as she tried to regain her composure. I can't believe I thought I knew you, she said, her voice barely above a whisper, eyes darting away from Mark's desperate gaze. Let's go, Jessica said gently, taking Sarah's hand. You deserve better than this. We'll figure things out together. The two women turned to leave, and I felt a surge of solidarity with them. They were on the precipice of a new beginning, and Mark was about to face the consequences of his choices. As they walked away, I noticed Mark's expression shift from despair to something darker, anger mixed with shame. You'll pay for this, Ryan, he shouted, his voice cracking. You think you're the hero? You're nothing but a coward. His words hit me like a cold slap, but I remained resolute. I didn't have to do this, Mark. You did this to yourself. The truth always finds a way to come out. As the guests began to exit, whispers of shock and disbelief echoed through the room. The party that was supposed to celebrate Mark and Sarah had turned into an expose of betrayal, and the atmosphere was electric with anticipation and dread. Jessica and Sarah walked to the exit, arms linked, sharing quiet words of comfort. I felt an overwhelming urge to follow them, to reassure Sarah that she would be okay. But I knew that this moment was theirs to own. They needed to reclaim their lives and rebuild from the ashes of deceit. Mark, still standing in the center of the room, looked around at the remnants of his former life. The whispers grew louder, punctuated by disdainful glances and incredulous laughter. Friends turned their backs on him, their expressions a mix of pity and disgust. He was a man without an ally, left to grapple with the ruins of his choices. As the last of the guests trickled out, Mark's bravado crumbled completely. He dropped to his knees, head in his hands, and I felt a flicker of something, maybe empathy, maybe pity, but it quickly faded. He had chosen this path, and now he would have to walk it alone. In the weeks that followed, Sarah and Jessica forged a new bond, one built on honesty and support. I saw Sarah blossom as she distanced herself from Mark's toxic influence. With Jessica by her side, she began to rediscover her sense of self, her strength shining through the cracks left by betrayal. Mark, on the other hand, found himself isolated. As the truth spread through our community, he lost not only Sarah but the respect of many who had once looked up to him. Friends dropped away like autumn leaves, leaving him to confront the stark reality of his choices. In a twisted way, I realized that Mark had given me a gift, the opportunity to reconnect with my own values, to reaffirm my friendships, and to support those I cared about. Watching Sarah thrive was a reminder that betrayal, no matter how painful, could be the catalyst for growth and new beginnings. As I look back on that fateful day, I couldn't help but feel that revenge, while satisfying, had been a means to an end. The real victory lay in the friendships I had strengthened and the truths that had emerged from the shadows. Ultimately, I had learned that sometimes the most outrageous twists in life can lead to the most profound changes. And while Mark had lost everything, I had gained clarity and a renewed sense of purpose. As the sun set on the remnants of that chaotic evening, I knew that both Sarah and I were on the path to healing. The storm had passed, leaving behind the promise of brighter days ahead.